I haven't read any Sanderson. I know. Whoa. All right, calm down. I know I'm behind the curve on Brandon Sanderson. Welcome to More Damn Books. My name is Sam, and we've got another weekly check-in. I've been cranking through my February must-reads this week. I'll tell you a little bit about In Ascension, as that's the first book I'm starting to read during February. And then right here, I've got 4 books that I picked up this week. So yeah, it's been a good week. Been a heavy audiobook reading week for me. Been able to get outside on a lot of nice walks and just crank through In Ascension, which has been fun. But I'll go through these first. I got 4 books here that I picked up this week. A couple used books, a couple new ones. We'll start right here with this one. This is A Death in the Family by James A.G. Nice Penguin classic right here. I haven't read any James A.G., which is probably a little sacrilege of me since I went to the University of Tennessee, and James A.G. is a fellow Knoxvillian. I believe this book takes place in Knoxville, which I am excited to revisit my college town, even if it's set in like the 50s. But yeah, little sacrilege that I haven't read any James A.G. because for 3 years of my time at college, I lived right off of James A.G. Street, which had a wicked hill, let me tell you. Knoxville's a hilly town, and James A.G., you can pick up some speed going down it on a bike. I lived at the top of it, so going to campus was a breeze. Coming home from campus sucked. Yeah, I'm glad I picked up some fellow Knoxville reads. Another Knoxville read that's on my list is, of course, Cormac McCarthy's Suttree. Another, not born and raised Knoxvillian, but Cormac did go to the great University of Tennessee, and Suttree is about Knoxville. So just adding this to my list of Knoxville reads. Next book I picked up here, I found a nice used copy of Kurt Vonnegut's Breakfast of Champions. I was on a huge Vonnegut kick. I rushed through Slaughterhouse-Five, Sirens of Titan, Mother Night, Cat's Cradle, and Player Piano, back to back to back, and had a great time. I think I got a little authored out with him. I don't know if any of you guys feel that way when you just read the same author, and specifically when you read the same author that's not a series, when you just crank through a set of novels by the same author, I think you can just get a little inundated by the voice, which was kind of a hard thing to feel with Vonnegut, since his authorial voice is like one of my favorites. And don't get me wrong, I had a great time reading all 5 of those books. Of the 5, Sirens of Titan was my favorite, and Mother Night was a sleeper hit of the bunch. But I just needed a break, and lo and behold, like 3 years later, I haven't read any Vonnegut, and I've been craving to get some more Vonnegut in my life. So I saw Breakfast of Champions, and I picked her up. I'm excited to get into this one because I do know that our main character is Kilgore Trout, which, of course, is one of my favorite Vonnegut characters. I know he briefly shows up in Slaughterhouse-Five, but while he's on the page, he is just a great character. I can't go wrong with Curdy V. Vonnegut always has my back, so I'm excited to re-immerse myself into the world of Vonnegut and hopefully to re-spark a drive to read a lot more Vonnegut. Okay, next, I picked up a nice vintage version of The Wastelands by Stephen King. This is book 3 of The Dark Tower. I have slowly been making my way through the tower. I've been doing what the internet calls the Dark Tower extended cut, where you fill in the Dark Tower books with a bunch of King novels that some of the villains, some of the themes, some of the vibes kind of seep into. So, of course, I've read the first two. I've read The Gunslinger and The Drawing of the Three. And then interspersed within that, I've done The Stand, The Eyes of the Dragon. I skipped forward a little bit and I just read Salem's Lot last year, but I do know that that fits in. And then I am in the middle of The Talisman. I'm halfway through The Talisman right now and really enjoying it. And I know that after I finish The Talisman, I can crank into this guy. I've heard some people say that this is their favorite of the bunch, or that this is like, of the first three, that this is like, it just keeps getting better. I loved The Drawing of the Three, so I am only pumped to see where we go with Roland and his quartet. I love getting these illustrated versions. Like, look at this. Look at this. Like, look at that. Come on. That's insane. Like, what's going on here? We got this guy with the grenade who's also in dire need of a good skincare routine. Like, yeah. Like, I'm nervous I'm like nervous to keep looking at these. I'm not gonna keep looking. I don't want anything spoiled. But yeah, excited to continue my way through the tower. And then lastly, I picked this up the other day when I was waiting for a crepe. That's a weird way, I guess, to intro this. But there was a creperie that I thought I'd try out. It was new to the neighborhood. And right next door is a bookstore. And the crepe took about 10 minutes to get made. So I was like, I got 10 minutes to kill. I'll go peruse and look at books. And I walked away with Brandon Sanderson's The Way of Kings. I haven't read any Sanderson. I know I'm behind the curve on Brandon Sanderson. So here's the thing. I started The Wheel of Time last year, and knowing that I hadn't read any Brandon Sanderson, I told myself my intro to Sanderson was going to be through the last Wheel of Times that he wrote for Robert Jordan. I don't know if that's the best way in to Brandon Sanderson, but I was telling myself that was going to be my way in. I've got so many people who've told me such great things about Mistborn, such great things about the Stormlight Archives. I know I'm behind the hype. With Wind and Truth coming out recently, I was just inundated with all things Brandon Sanderson. So maybe I'll start here. I still kinda want to do what I set out to do, and just finish Wheel of Time and have my intro to Brandon with Wheel of Time. But I'm only on book 6 of the Wheel of Time, and I think it's going to be a whole nother year before I finish all of it. So I said, what the heck, I'll pick this up, and I might get into this year. Now, I know a lot of people are like, start with Elantris, start with Mistborn. They go on saying that if you're new to fantasy, start with these ones. It's a baby step into fantasy. It's good fantasy that'll hold your hand and intro you to the genre. Look, I'm 6 books into the Wheel of Time. I know what I'm doing. I think I can start with a tome like this. I'm excited. I've heard great things. I'm hoping this book's an A+ because the crepe was a B-, but I did pick up The Way of Kings, and I will be diving into this, I'm sure, at some point this year. All right, and then to lastly just kind of update y'all about where I am. I set out to read 5 books this February, and the first one I set out to read is this one right here, In Ascension, and this has been really, really good so far. Where am I? I'm right at 200 pages. I'm 200 pages in. The chapter system's a little wonky here. It's a book in parts, and when you start like part 2 and part 3, the chapters are renumbered, but I am on chapter 12 of part 2, and this is really good. It's sci-fi, but it hasn't quite felt like sci-fi yet, and that there's nothing wrong with that. We follow Lee, who is a researcher. She has drive. She definitely has drive, but I think he does a really good job of writing a character who has drive, has potential, but then also can just go kind of with the wind. It seems like the wind just kind of takes Lee, and she's ended up in some really good fields of study for kind of what she studies. I think some of the science is a little bit over my head, but basically Lee studies algae, I believe, and some of my lack of understanding is not making me enjoy this any less. But Lee finds herself, she's on her PhD track, and kind of like the final thing she's doing to attain her PhD is she goes on this boat called the Endeavor that is doing a science research mission out in the water. And as they go out in the water, there's like this, while they're on the boat, they discover a trench in the ocean that is like kilometers and kilometers deeper than the Mariana Trench. So it's the deepest thing in the world. And they just start exploring it, and they send some divers down there, and Lee is among one of them. And when she submerges into the water, the next thing she knows, she's like waking up in a hospital bed on the boat, and a lot of her memories are wonky. So that's kind of where some of the sci-fi has come in. I'm not much farther than that. I know the back of the book says that it spans into space. It's very reminiscent of Interstellar. Haven't gotten to those parts yet, but diving into the ocean and waking up with your memories gone is definitely intriguing, and I'm really excited to see where it goes. There's a lot of mixed reviews on this online saying that the book is flat out boring. I don't find that at all. And then some of the positive reviews even say that the author just does a good job writing boredom, which is an interesting take. I wouldn't mind reading something if it was about boredom and interesting, but so far my takeaway from this is it hasn't been boring. It's been a lot of day to day, but I haven't experienced any boredom with it. I've been really engrossed. I've been really enjoying it. I'm hoping to be done with this probably in the next 5 days. I got a road trip coming up. I'm going to be driving about 5 hours, and I'm going to try to crank through a lot of the audiobook on that. So I'm hoping to be wrapping this up soon. But yeah, really been enjoying In Ascension. It's been a great start to the month. That's all I got. Keep piling them up. Yeah, give me more damn books. So this has been a good damn book so far. But yeah, I think that's all I got.